The other company I want to quickly talk about is a company called TrustEv. We originally took 19 in September, and we took 2 more. TrustEv and Conquer only joined us in January, so they came in for a shorter period of time. TrustEv, about 3 weeks ago, were won some prize in an EU sponsored prize of to identify the top startup in Europe, and Top sort of won this. And there, this was the fraud sort of potential space in an online environment. This is about sort of the estimations of online fraud which take place in only 1 year, and it's growing twice the rate of actually some online sort of transactions itself. So it really is a problem that has to be fixed very sort of quickly. 27% of every online order actually goes to someone for an annual review. This can either be someone within the merchant themselves, or actually sort of within the credit card company. And as transactions increase, this is not sort of scalable. You can't sort of keep throwing more and more dollars at a problem like this. So 200 billion mandates every year sort of involved sort of in reviewing sort of orders. And then even after all of this, still 8% of the transactions are sort of controlled. So what this is, it's commerce prevention, not fraud prevention, in terms of the way the systems are set up. So what TrustEv are doing is they're linking with existing sort of tools that merchants would use for verified by Visa or any of your credit work this year, and they're building on top of that sort of social fingerprints. So what they're adding to it by taking your traditional tools, but then they're also using the tools, say Facebook profiles, Twitter profiles, how people can interact online, and bringing all this into the mix to try and reduce the number of potentially sort of fraudulent transactions that take place. So if we take an example, so Chris is the CTO of TrustEv, and recently they pitched in New York at TechCrunch Disrupt. So what they, if you look at the transaction there, Chris is talking about he's on his way to something in New York. Potentially sort of, you look at things, well, he's checked in at Heathrow, and he's saying he's on his way to New York. There's a pattern there, this guy sort of is sort of traveling. Whereas if he just took his first sort of transaction, to New York, then rush, and then the transaction takes place in America. These are things which are automatically against the past that, this guy is not in this is a transaction in a different country, put it for review. So that would be a sort of bad pattern. So they use their tools to try and validate that the profile is a real person, but then also that the user is who they say they are. And all of this sort of brought into the mix to say that we actually believe in the platform that yes, it is sort of the right transaction because we are able to track down to the country, to the city, by using people's their IP addresses, delivery addresses, billing addresses, their device, so their fingerprints, history from that, and all of this is brought into their platform and provided to merchants, essentially to increase the number of genuine transactions through the platform.
Sorry, quick question.
Yeah.
How do they get access to that data in TrustEv?
So it uses things like when a user does prepares to go through to the transaction, the very first time they use things like connected with Facebook. But once that goes into sort of the platform, it's just used once, regardless of what other merchant you use the tools. People say, well, if you're doing a sort of fraudulent sort of transaction, maybe you're not going to sort of sign in with your Facebook. Then that's used as a trigger.
So how do they have access to Facebook?
So if you use any sort of other site, you authorize it. So particularly within the app world or online, it's both Facebook to the connect to the profile, and you agree to what level of information that you're prepared to share.
How do they talk to someone every time barely?
Welcome to the new world, yeah. Which is why sort of the whole data privacy sort of thing is extremely important. Because I know you touched on this with Russell, but you have sort of the level of control that you are prepared to offer. Like they don't go right down to the total sort of level of detail. It's just enough of the information. But you can always revoke access at any stage. But the way the things change, people actually sort of don't mind anymore. It is. My ears, it's a bit scary how much people sort of overshare sort of a bit. But one of these sort of tools will hopefully sort of allow merchants to actually make more successful transactions and reduce the number of people who are involved in you. So Pat was the CEO, is a series of this entrepreneur. Chris sort of built the last platform with Pat, a company called Cubic Telecom. It used to be the bane of operators, right? So it's extremely ironic. Pat was actually one of our judges in September for the first intake team. So that's what we're doing in these latest startups, because I'm going to apply for where in my latest startup. 5 years ago, Pat wasn't even allowed into the building. He had a company which sold improved sort of roaming telecom products to basically sort of hammer on operators who were hitting people traveling around Europe for data roaming and voice roaming. So he was persona non grata in this building. So it shows how things have changed over the years. Dermot has come from Facebook and looking at their fraud and strategy perspective as well. And they've got a really sort of heavy hitters group of advisors as well. Anil, who's usually the head of M&A at Google. Trevor, CEO of Moby, so it's told a number of companies to Telefonica. David Collier, who's also advising the Conquer guys, and David Collins. So that are really sort of strong sort of entrepreneurs and sort of advisors to, like I said, they won the top startup in Europe sort of a couple of weeks ago. And since we had our investor here, they here about the week before that, huge amount of interest in investing in sort of this company going forward as well. These are some of the companies that they're dealing with. So that's TrustEv, real-time online.